Showbizz for Adult, creating a pound for pound list with women and men together in a pound for pound list. I call it my pound for pound, my all-inclusive, gender equal pound for pound list. One of you show business partners actually coined the phrase pound for pound, sex for sex list. I forgot your name, but I don't mind that. I like that. P4P, S for S list. There's many questions on why would I make such a list, all right? What's my inspiration, incentive? But what I see just overwhelmingly is a misunderstanding of what I'm doing with this list. Look, certain things I keep hearing, like women fighting men, right? Pound for pound means if a fighter moved up or down, how would they do in the other weight class? Not for me, all right? I think that's too much of a fantasy. I don't know how Inoue would look as a heavyweight. I don't know how, Dillian White would look as a flyweight. I just can't, I can't do that. But what I do is look at their resume, their accomplishments, how they looked against their opponents. That's what I do, okay? Who've accomplished more or whatever, what have you. And I'm able to do that pretty easily. That's why I'm able to look at Katie Taylor and what she's accomplished against her opponents and compare it to Jermell Charlo and what he accomplished against his opponents, because it's the same logic for me as if I look at Devin Haney, his opponents, and Tyson Fury. Yep, I mean, it's, and what they've accomplished and who they fought, and who was the more dangerous opponents they faced lately too. Pound for pound is right now a snapshot of who's the best right now. So I don't do the whole if Inoue were to fight Fury at heavyweight. So I'm not going to do if Clarissa Shields fought Charlo at middleweight. You see what I'm saying? The whole thing about if I'm respecting women on the same level as warriors as I do men means I'm pro transgender men fighting women, and I haven't gone that far because it really there's no transgender league or anything. I'm working in reality right now, okay? That's what I'm doing. There's definitely that argument. Men as a gender has a higher level of opposition, right? Women just don't have that. I mean, well, okay, I can understand that because men boxing has been around longer. I understand that. That's why I look at the exceptions, like Katie Taylor, Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, Jessica McCaskill, Bumgardner, those women warriors. I look at the exceptions. But I'm still able to do it. Let's look at Larry Holmes, right? People call him one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Many of you may have him listed in the top 10 pound for pound, where we know that the heavyweight division he was active in wasn't as competitive as Muhammad Ali's, Evander Holyfield's. And still, you're able to look at what he's done in that less competitive environment. You get what I'm saying? You already see where I'm going. So if you were to look at Clarissa Shields and say, well, her opponents, in comparison to her, okay, the skill gap is just too great, right? She's an exception. Well, I rank the exceptions. Larry Holmes was just that much better than everybody else, okay? It's not his fault. Clarissa Shields, it's not her fault. Katie Taylor, not her fault. Amanda Serrano, they are women. They're women. They're women fighting women. When you're a trailblazer as well, when you're doing incredible things, pushing an entire, look, Clarissa Shields, Katie Taylor, Savannah Marshall, just all these women are pushing women's sports and combat sports for women, pushing it forward, and they should be credited for that. All right? What Jack Johnson did for black men in the sport of boxing, Jackie Robinson in the majors, pushing that idea so far ahead that black athletes, the perception of black athletes grew substantially. My incentive, actually before my incentive, let's talk about the differences as far as the time. I've mentioned this before, but maybe you didn't hear me. Women fighting 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds. That means that they're not boxing, or they're not doing what men do. How about that? And I've often said Muhammad Ali fighting 15 rounds, Jack Johnson fighting 30 rounds, John L. Sullivan, Harry Greb fighting 40 times in 1 year. If duration is the difference, then Jack Johnson wasn't doing what Muhammad Ali was doing. Muhammad Ali wasn't doing what Tyson Fury is doing now. Meaning, I guess we can't have an all-time pound-for-pound list if the duration is the difference. Incentive. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? The same mindset that I have for not discriminating against race, right? I don't really consider race when I think of who's the best fighters in the world. That same mindset is very easy for me to not consider gender when I say who's the best fighters in the world. Somebody who's capable of thinking the way I think is not beyond the imagination that I'll be able to do something like this. But incentive, I'm not sure if this world has ever been, I mean, how long humans have existed. We've been so far from equality, period. It took so long for black people to be seen as equal, or Asians, or what have you. There's always been this difference, and we're fighting for that now. And through music, through sports, we've been able to do that. Ultimately, women, I could throw them in a pot. It's very, very impossible for men, many men, to consider women whatsoever when it comes to sports and combat. They're just not good enough. Especially against each other. Women against women, I don't know. It's not men fighting women. I think it's very difficult for a woman to knock out a woman, just like it's difficult for a man to knock out a man. They're still women for them. And I can appreciate that. So me throwing gender equality, inequality in the pot, along with race and everything, I'm thinking of a world, an existence, a boxing world specifically, where we all are just seeing these fantastic human beings as warriors and appreciating them all equally. If they're flyweight, if they're heavyweight, if they're black, if they're white, Asian, Hispanic, or a woman. It's going to be very, very difficult to do this. But that's what makes us so special in this community. I'm out.